Did I feel like I was gonna go be in the top 5? No, but did I feel like I could present something that I wasn't gonna cry about later? Yes.
You've got to appreciate somebody who is just fully transparent in their conversations and isn't going to pull any punches. So I bring to you today a great example of that in IFBB Pro women's bodybuilder Julia Whitesel. We discuss in depth her last 2 competitive seasons, 2023 and 2024, both of which ending in spots in the Olympia. We also dig into a lot of other conversational topics, including discussion of the whole natty or not gotcha journalism that's going on. We have some thoughts on that, and her husband Ryan kind of jumps in and gives his thoughts on that in the back portion of the episode as well. So with that, I do welcome you to episode 275 of The Drop Set. Let's hit it. All right, Julia Whitesel, welcome to The Drop Set. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
You were scrambling to make it here on time.
I was. I have started taking a few clients on Saturday, which every Saturday morning I regret a little bit, and then I don't when I leave. But
I know how it is. You're like, oh, it's Saturday and I have an appointment. Shit.
That alarm on a Saturday is not cool.
And then you're like, and then I've got this podcast after this appointment. Shit.
I know, more peopling. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. I will be minimal peopling. I promise. There's no pressure here. So,
hey, I volunteered.
You did. That's fair. First question I have for you right out of the gate is, you've been on the Olympia stage twice. How big is that stage figuratively? Like, I know it's a large stage, but how does it feel when you're up there?
Oh God.
Because you've been on plenty of pro stages as well. How does that one compare?
That's like a hard question to answer. I mean,
that's why I asked
it. Really want to get into it, I think the pressure leading up to it is so big that when you get there, the literal stage doesn't feel a lot different than any other pro show. Obviously, there are a lot more people in the audience, but you also kind of, my first Olympia experience, I will say, I overhyped it so hard and like stressed myself out, literally to the point where I made myself sick. I couldn't like recall that experience to you if I tried. Like I literally don't remember it. So this year, my goal was to just go and have a good time and try to actually, soak it in. It's
Were
an
you able to do that?
Overwhelmingly big experience, but it in the literal moment doesn't feel a whole lot different than any other pro stage.
Interesting. Do you feel like you were able to soak it in better this year?
Oh yeah, I actually had fun this year, and part of that just straight up, I competed in 8 shows since starting I started prep the end of 2022 and hadn't come out of prep since the Olympia. So not that you don't go into every show wanting to win, but like we were pretty aware that like if we put a package on stage this year that we were proud of, we were just going to be happy because my body was it was tired. I was mentally tired.
It's like, I need a break, dude.
Yeah. And as motivated as you can be mentally, your body just doesn't want to play ball. So I went into it. My motto going into it was trying to go into it like a spectator. Like I'm just going to go enjoy the perks of getting to be, because I'm a huge fan of men's bodybuilding. So getting to be, not that I'm not of women's bodybuilding, but I started as a men's bodybuilding fan. So getting to be like behind the scenes of all of that was really my goal. And I feel like I left having a good time.
Nice. And I think ultimately, like, if you're not going and having a good time, like, why are you doing it? I think, last year being your first year there, it's kind of like, everyone has all the nerves and anxiety going into their very first show. And when it's your first Olympia, I imagine it feels kind of like that because it's your first time there.
Well, yeah, and you feel like, it's stupid, really. You ruin it for yourself because you feel like your life, like, depends on it, and then you get there and you don't even remember any of it.
Was it like that for your first pro show as well? Because it's the first time at that level?
Actually, no. My first pro show, I switched from women's physique and went into that first pro show really just thinking like, I don't even know if I'm going to fit into this category. So when I went in and placed second, I just was so it was just super fun. I was just green, and like it felt like there was nothing to lose. So I had a completely different experience at that show.
That's cool. That's cool. So you turned pro in physique?
Shit, that wasn't really your question. My first pro show. My first pro show, yes, it felt like that for sure. But I also made the stupid mistake at that time. I took 14 clients to my first pro show because it was a pro-am. And I tried to coach 14 clients the same day. So that was the learning experience all in itself. So that almost didn't have a chance to be as overwhelming,
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't. I mean, did you make it up on stage? That'd be my concern.
Oh, I made it. It just, I shouldn't have. Someone should have told me to get off.
Too busy. Oh my God. So I'm assuming that was local if you had that many clients there.
Yeah, St. Louis is like 3 hours from us, so it was that.
Okay. Oh my God, I can't imagine. Like I've competed before. I am a lowly amateur here, but I've competed at a show, and I coach online. I don't have any clients locally, but I had a show that I did in 21 where another client who kind of lives, within 6 hours at least. We both went to Atlanta and did a show there, so I was with him backstage, and like just that was like, man, I can't focus on myself just with one dude there.
Yeah, it's so much. It's so much.
Yeah. And I've had this show that I did in June. I was backstage and I had 2 clients competing elsewhere that same day, and so I'm like on my phone backstage the whole time. And it's like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that next time around.
No,
set the time for yourself.
Part of that is my husband and I. We both coach and we both compete, and we do have the benefit of, like just this Olympia. I had a client that was going to be competing the day after I got on stage, so he got to take over for me. But sometimes it's almost like I like to have the distraction, so you can't be so up your own ass. It's nice to have someone else to focus on, but you definitely, like, no one's winning there. Like, the client isn't getting full attention, you're not getting full attention. So it's a hard balance.
That's a good point. The distraction is something for sure.
Yeah.
As long as nobody's having like a lot of drama.
Well,
like,
yeah. And
like
unfortunately, that show with 14, I had 1 out of 14 that was all the drama. So
what 1 out of 14 is not bad. That's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, that's an optimistic way to look at it. Yes,
because it's very easy for that to be like 8 out of 14 could be having a shit show of a day.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's crazy. So I want to go back here. I took some notes. So I did some research and I took some notes.
Oh
so
God, you did
don't
research.
Worry. I don't think this is really going to be like an episode of This Is Your Life, but like a very, very abridged version of that.
I'm an open book, so ask whatever.
I figure. So I just want to go back to last year, like the 2 Olympia years, last year and this year. So last year you went and your first show in April was the Van Isle and you took 2nd. Mm-hmm. Was the idea there to go in because it's an early show, try and get the qualification, and then like have a little bit of a time to like breathe and chill before the big day?
I'm trying to remember the thought. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that year we literally picked that show as soon as we saw it because we thought no one else would be doing it because it was so soon.
And you were mostly right. It was very small.
It was very small. However, Sherry was great competition at that show. And again, we were green. We didn't really know if I was even going to fit in the division, but fuck yeah, if we could have nailed it in one, for sure, that was the goal.
Yeah. Well, and I had Sherry on here last year and I talked with her about that show. And she was like, it was the first show of the year, I think, for women's bodybuilding, very early in the year. And she's like, I didn't care if it was going to be small. And she's like, it was small, but it's not like nobody was there. I mean, Julia was there. I had to beat her. So she gave you a call.
Well, I appreciate that she said that.
Yeah.
It's appreciated. Yeah, she was. Yeah, that was a good. I felt good about that, knowing that she was a good contender, and I felt like I gave her a decent run. So.
Yeah, because some of those smaller shows, if you go and you win that, and then you look back and you're like, look at who showed up, and you're like, well, okay, I've seen plenty like that, but that's one where consistently, because you did win that one, or no, yeah, you won that one this year.
Yeah.
And still, it's like they're small shows, but it's quality still.
Yeah, but female bodybuilding is kind of we don't really have a lot of big shows, No. Yeah, we kind of have like 10 to 12 people that are going to be good competition, and it's who shows up. I mean, that's that way with any show, but a men's bodybuilding show, you can have a deep lineup,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think realistically, like in the Olympia lineups, there isn't really like, and there's certainly like your top 2, 3, 4, whatever, and there's some distance between them and everybody else, but it's not that dramatic.
You for women's bodybuilding or men's?
Yeah, for women. For men, I think there's a lot more variability. What I see in men showing up conditioned, like you're always going to have a couple of guys that just like really don't nail it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And then it's also I feel like for men more so than women, the judging differs so much show to show, like what area you're in. Like if you compare the New York Pro and the California Pro for men, just the aesthetic they prefer can be different. So
interesting. Because, I mean, you're not going to have a lot of crossover in who's on the judging panel because they're on opposite coasts. So you're really getting the sense of, like, regionally, this is what we look for here.
Yeah. But, I mean, women's bodybuilding is, I mean, you could argue that for us, too, especially because, I mean, especially now that they, got rid of women's bodybuilding and brought it back with this big push for femininity. I feel like the looks are so different that you could go so many different ways with how you judge things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's true. And I think, strangely enough, I think with women's bodybuilding, it is one of the categories that is, I mean, I feel at least, is most consistently judged just because
I would agree.
So many of the others are such a fucking shit show.
God, and it's, I mean, everybody wants to say that when they like lose a show, but sometimes more recently it has just been like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, as an outside observer with no vested interest in any of this, I can be like, okay, so here's a show where, like in women's physique, like the smallest competitor who is the leanest on stage wins. And then the next show, the biggest one who is very soft wins or takes second. It's like, what is it? Make up your damn minds.
Women's physique, I think, honestly, I mean, trying to think for a second before I talk, but I think that's the one that more often than not this year we've been like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. By the way, I strongly discourage thinking before you talk. Like, just put it out there. That's fine.
You don't want to give me that right. I'm really bad about that anyway.
That's okay. So after last year, second at the Van Isle, and then you go to New York, and 4 weeks later, second again. And at that point, are you like, fuck my life? Or are you like, head down, let's do it?
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. If I'm just being totally transparent, I immediately, because I have this like admittedly double-edged sword superpower, if you will, of like being naively cocky. So like I went into that show and I saw her at check-ins and I thought like, she looks really soft. I got this, no big deal. And then my husband, later we talk about this, saw her and went like, oh, we're fucked, which I should have thought too. But
you're talking about Natalia who won that show?
Oh, dude, she's just like, ugh. In the moment, I was like, I'm way more peeled than you. I'm just as shapely. I've got this. But coming out of that in retrospect, like, she's fucking Godzilla, man. And she's sexy and she's feminine. Like, she's a freak. So after the show, I immediately went to my husband and cried because I'm like, fuck, that means we have to do another one. Like, I don't want to do another fucking 6 weeks. I knew it was 4 or 6 weeks or whatever to Toronto, but I knew I wasn't going to stop. So I had to go to Toronto.
Because you know how much you put into each one. And you're like, another 6 weeks of this. Oh my God.
Like, yeah, it was rough. And like, I was really peeled for New York. So I was hurting at that point. So, we bucked up and head down and went to Toronto, and they wanted, I asked for feedback I asked Jake Woods for feedback. I asked Tyler for feedback, and they all told me to come tighter, which we then interpreted as, I guess, she won. So I guess they want full and big. So really we went in Toronto softer, but a lot fuller. And like, if I compare those stage shots, I really like the New York stage shots better still to this day, but like, they seem to like full in Canada. So we went in and we won that one, but
yeah. So that's one thing that I always think about with stage shots is the lighting of the stage and the photographer matter a lot. So I always want to go back and say, like, how did you feel on stage in Toronto versus New York?
I will say I definitely had a change of, like, I had been really nervous going into the first two shows, and then by the third one I was just so like, fuck it, they're gonna like me or they're not gonna like me. So like a lot of the nerves dropped off, so that felt good. And that was the first show where I'd felt really full backstage. I'd never gotten that sensation. So like getting to go on stage feeling like actually getting a pump and feeling good, like that changes your tune quite a bit.
Hell yeah.
So I feel like that's one of my only stage presentations where I can say I actually see confidence on stage. I felt pretty good at that show. In hindsight, I favor conditioning over size. Like I know what it takes to get really lean. I also respect people that are big, but I know that you have to hurt to get really lean. So I will still tell you I like the look at New York better. But yeah.
Nice. And so that was in what was that, June, I think? So then
I
you
think it
had
was June, yeah.
So you had a little bit of downtime to get ready for the O, but it was still in it was like November last year, I think.
Yeah.
So how was that time, and how did you feel once you actually got there? Like, we know we talked about like it's a whirlwind, don't remember, but leading up to it, like, did you feel like, hey, I'm on point, or Houston, we have a problem?
Oh, at the Olympia?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm trying to remember when exactly. I think things were going pretty well, like going into it until about like the 3-week out mark, and we were just like, yeah, no, I knew I looked like shit. I knew it. I also still have that like superpower I told you about where I'm pretty good at naively being confident. So
you're like, I got this.
Yeah, I knew it, but I didn't know it. But like, yeah, I knew it. It was bad.
Because it's funny, I was reviewing, like I said, reviewing the pics, and because I didn't catch the Olympia last year, I did this year. But looking at the pics from it, I'm like, wow, like you looked way off compared to everything else that year.
I appreciate your honesty, because if you would have said anything else, I would call you a fucking liar. Yeah, it was like I again made myself like literally physically ill. I was so stressed going into that show. I like took a bunch of time off work to get ready for it, and I think I like over isolated myself and got really weird, and like no, really, I think I removed myself from people so much that I just got fucking weird, and I was like distended, which my stomach is never a problem. I was distended and bloated.
Stress will do that.
Oh yeah, dude, I was just like a water bag. It was awful.
Yeah. Oh man. And I imagine like you go through that and you're like, okay, that was an experience. Great. I'd like to forget most of that probably. Like, as far as how it actually went. This is where you're going to think
I'm a woo-woo fucking weirdo. I actually came out of that and got really into spirituality because I had such a rough time with the outcome of that show. Like, that was a very life-changing event for me. That hurt. That fucking hurt.
Interesting. Did it ever get to a point where you're like, huh, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I definitely I mulled that over. I went pretty deep into that. I had to kind of like find I don't want to say like I loved training. I will always love training, but I had to kind of find my reasoning for bodybuilding again. I had to make my reason different. So
there's training, but then there's also competing, and it's like those are very different things.
They're very different, and you know, with spirituality, like those two things don't really align because it is such a vain and selfish thing. So I kind of had to iron all of that out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And it doesn't seem like it took that long because you were back up on stage. The Olympia was November, and then this year you were back on stage in April. So you got it sorted out pretty quick, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I went through it pretty hard. Yeah, I mean, we had just decided that, like, if we were going to do the Olympia again, we were going to have to jump in and get it knocked out and ideally hit it in one. I made a lot of dumb mistakes this year that people would just laugh at if they even knew. But
give us one.
Yeah, it took a lot more than one. So then we were back on the cycle again.
What kind of dumb mistakes are we talking about?
Oh, dude. Okay, so, ugh,
Yeah, this is
so
what everybody came here for, Julia.
yeah, this is like, it's so dumb. Okay, so I have like severe nerve damage in my left hand. So I had a breast augmentation right before I started prep for that original Van Isle, like the summer prior to that. So about a month after that, I have a night where I feel like I'm like having a heart attack. First, my hand's asleep, then it progressively starts to feel like I'm having a heart attack. I've got all this like what I now know is nerve pain, like shooting up my arm, and I from that like lost function of my left hand, half of my left hand. So
Yikes.
yeah, come to find out, because no one in bumfuck Egypt where I live could really help me with it. I happen to have a doctor as a client that was the only one to find it, but I've got pieces of metal at the nerve bundle in this arm that make this hand not function. So it's like my
Wow.
ulnar and my, I think the radial nerve that are being compressed by pieces of metal that mysteriously got there a month after my breast augmentation. So anyway, I have a lot of swelling in that hand because of it. And as a female, I am very vain and it is embarrassing. So I started taking, I had a client who I knew was on aldactone for acne.
Mhm.
And so I tried it thinking like maybe this would take some of the swelling out of my hand. And then I started taking it every day. And
Mhm.
my dumbass didn't understand that like, the sodium water balance was going to fuck me. And then also all the drugs that I'm taking are now going to be fucked by this. I didn't tell my husband any of this at the time who was coaching me. So he was like, kept seeing me get really flat. And he's like, oh, I got to feed you more food, not knowing that I'm taking aldactone every day. So you can see where this went. I fucked myself really hard with that. So then going into, Arizona, I just ended up looking too soft and a little flat. Otherwise, I think that would have been like probably our best look. And then we tried to come off of some of the aldactone for Van Isle, and it was a hot mess. I got really lucky. I won that show because I think I lost a lot of tissue from that whole. Yeah,
The
everyone
whole
can laugh
episode.
now. It was a very dumb mistake.
Well, I think realistically, you did one thing that was dumb, and that was just not communicate with your coach.
Yeah. I mean, I should have told him. I was thinking like, this is no big deal. This is working for me. My hand looks
Yeah.
better. This is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That seems like a pretty reasonable chain of events to me. If I felt like you were a dumbass, I would tell you. But it's like, talk to your coach. But other than that, it's like, I think that
Yeah,
all
I
kind of
probably
makes
should have
sense.
told him.
Yeah,
It ended up being just a way bigger deal than it had I known. But that I learned something. I learned something this year.
absolutely. And when you said Arizona, you're talking about the Triple O show.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I always know that one by name. I never know where it is. So,
Yeah. I don't even remember It's in Arizona. I can tell you
you're
that.
like, I don't know. I was in prep. I don't remember it.
Oh, he says it's in Mesa. It's in Mesa apparently.
Mesa. Okay, cool. So that was what, third, but then you had Van Isle just 2 weeks later as another
Yep.
follow up, and you're like, I've done that one before, and you probably, I imagine you go into that, that cockiness, naive cockiness, but you probably went in there feeling pretty good, I would hope, and it was justified. Or at that point, do you feel like you kind of learned your lesson?
We were still trying to we actually brought someone else in to kind of help, but I think, everyone in the situation was just so, the dude we brought in had never seen anyone do the dumbass thing that I did. Nobody knew what to do with it. So we were all scared to pull it down. We were scared to feed me more because we thought the water retention was going to be immense, rebounding off of it. It was just,
Right.
So no, I didn't feel great going into that show, but yes, there was definitely a level of Julia superpower where I was a little cockier than I should have been.
Yeah.
Looking back, definitely was it was a weird look. It wasn't like my worst look, but it was a weird look.
But it was good enough.
It was good enough, so I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. How's the hand now, by the way?
Oh, I'll never have function in that hand again.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Nerves are funny things.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't wish that on my worst fucking enemy, dude. It was the first 8 weeks of that where I was in so much pain. I'm just happy it's not painful anymore.
Well, that's good. So there's not great function or feel, but it's not painful on a regular
No,
basis.
like it's stuck in this position at all times.
Man, you got like Bill Nye hands. You know him?
I don't, but
Well, he's a famous British actor, but his
what's
hands are
wrong
like
with him?
permanently in this position. He has some kind of condition. I don't know if it's nerve related or something else, but his hands, like if you see him acting in movies, he's always walking around his hands like this. It's like permanently in like a claw
Poor
position.
guy. I feel bad for him because I know what that's like. It sucks.
Yeah, he's great. He's one of my favorite actors, actually. He's awesome. So Van Isle, you win, and did you immediately have your sights on Arizona, the Rising Phoenix, after that, or was that kind of like a, maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't?
Well, to be honest, they turned me down the year prior, so I wasn't even sure I was going to get invited. But then once I got invited, I definitely felt like, although the timeline sucked for me because it was going to, I really needed every ounce of time I could get for the Olympia.
Because like 5 or 6 weeks before it, right?
Yeah, it was
kind of puts you in a weird
hard...
no man's land.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was just a weird time frame. But once I found out I was on the list, I knew I had to do it if I wanted to be able to do it in the future.
There's kind of like an obligation that comes with that in a way.
I don't know that.
Or maybe you perceive it that way.
That's my perception. And to be fair, I want to say this: it is such a well organized show. Like they treat you like royalty. They pay for everything. I mean, it is truly, it's a cooler. I mean, I looked like shit there this year, so that part wasn't cool. But if I can remove myself from that, like it is a really cool experience.
Nice. It was a fun show to watch too. I mean, you could tell like they put a lot into it.
They put a lot into it, yeah.
Yeah, and the prize money is no joke. I mean, that's always cool to see as well, especially for an all-women show.
Yeah, and the fact that, I mean, just to have an all-women show get that much attention is cool. Because, I mean, I think we all know that, like, the only people that really watch female bodybuilding are female bodybuilders, or there's a schmo community, or, there's some people, like, it sounds like you watch it, that, maybe you have someone that you want to watch or whatever, but we have a small niche.
Yeah, definitely. But and it is good to see it kind of get some traction, though. That's cool.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So the elephant in the room. The thing that I want to know about here, this year's Olympia. Forget about placings, but how did you feel on stage? With what honestly, you brought specifically.
We were just so happy because we were like racing to the finish line with that show, with what had gone on prior to, because my husband took back over my prep. When did you take it back over?
5 weeks after.
He took my prep back over at 5 weeks out. So we were just racing so hard to that finish line that like the day before we took check-in pictures, we literally both cried because we saw that like, okay, this is actually going to be something that isn't embarrassing. Like that's how rough we felt. So did I feel like I was going to go be in the top 5? No. But did I feel like I could present something that I wasn't going to cry about later? Yes.
And I mean, that's like the first step, right?
Yeah.
Baby steps. I mean, I was looking at the pics and I thought, realistically, to my eye, like I thought your Olympia conditioning was your best of the year, going by the photos.
It definitely was.
Which we've said, different stages, different photographers, so the photos don't always tell you the right picture.
No, you're not wrong. It was.
But yeah, it definitely looks sharp. So kudos to that, because it's one thing to go in and be like, okay, this is the target, we're hitting this. But when it's your fourth show of the year, it's like a lot of things can go wrong, and eventually your body just might be like, no, fuck you, we're not doing this.
Well, yeah, and I had been with, I won't even play this game, but I'll just say I was with a coach prior to. Normally my husband always coaches me, but he, that's already a hard dynamic.
Yeah.
As I'm sure anyone could assume. But he was competing this year, so we were juggling that. So I hired a coach to, allow him to be able to focus on him and me focus on me. And that went really, really badly. And so he finally at 5 weeks was just like, fuck it, I can't watch this anymore. I've got to take this over. And my body is one that, and this is going to make me sound like a pussy to anyone that doesn't understand it, but it's just how my body works. you can't like push it aggressively in any direction or it will panic. So like you can't just like feed me 800 calories and feed me 80 mgs of Clin a day and fat will come off. I will retain water and I will look shittier and shittier. And that happened for a long period of time prior to rising, which is why that look was so bad. So he jumped in after that and was having to pick up the pieces of like a body where all the cards had already been played, you know. So, but we got to go into the Olympia, you know, doing significantly less cardio, eating way more food. I actually felt better being significantly leaner. Yeah, way less drugs in general. I felt better, significantly leaner than I did going into rising, just because I got used to feeling so shitty prior to. And I'm okay with feeling shitty if like the fruits of your labor are being shown.
Yeah.
But like feeling shitty and being fat, that sucks.
that is a bad combination.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to him, because that's a high degree of difficulty. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say a lot of it was like, you know, first of all, you're back with somebody that you know well and trust. And so that immediately is like stress level coming down. You know, you start to eat a little bit more, stress level coming down. You'll pull cardio down, stress level coming down. Like everything is just about stress reduction, getting the body less inflamed. And then suddenly, lo and behold, oh, it cooperates. And now I'm leaning out and I look better and I feel better in the process. But
100%.
it's one of those things that doesn't work if you're not with somebody that you really trust.
Yeah, but that was like part of the thing is like, I had a shitty coaching experience like early on in bodybuilding, and so I've always had a hard time trusting coaches, and thus this dynamic was born. But this coach, man, like this was the first time I drank the Kool-Aid in a long time, and he's someone who has a great what do you call it? Everyone he puts on stage is peaked perfectly, and so I drank the Kool-Aid hard on that. So that was emotionally hard too, because it was like I felt like I got duped. And then there's also the like, well, why are you paying it? Why is this working for other people and it's not working for me? You know, like, do you just not do you think I suck? So the dude probably thought I was cheating on my diet. I don't know. I'll never know. But
well, and that's part of it, I think, because I can think of many coaches who fit that bill. And it's like, I imagine they throw these hyper aggressive plans at everyone, and 40% of their clients succeed with it, and those are the ones you see, and the 60% that don't, we never hear about them.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm not going to ask you, but offline, I'm gonna ask you. So
you can ask. I don't want to say it because I don't want to be that guy. Because there are people that are having a lot of success with him, and that's great. It's just, you know, I'm going to stick with my hubby for forever now.
That's fair. That's fair. So, okay. So I had a couple of other questions that I wanted to dig into before we get too crazy into talking some shit, but we will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk the shit.
I got to keep teasing you along a little bit here. This is
cool.
eating your veggies before we have dessert. So, now what I'm curious about your approach in the gym specifically. Like, you walk in and it's whatever the fuck it is. It's back day or whatever. Like, what's your routine that you go through? You walk through the doors. What is going through your head? What is Julia doing as she gets ready for whatever is on the agenda for the day?
Like, kind of the mental aspect of it?
Mental aspect, and also like the physical routine of it. Like, do you have this, you know, or do you have any kind of elaborate warm-up routine, or are you pre-gaming in your head, or do you just like, fuck, I walk in and I just rip it, I don't give a shit, I just go?
Kind of depends on. No, I don't have an elaborate warm-up routine. Definitely do not. I definitely I'm pretty lazy with stretching, foam rolling, all that stuff. I do pay someone to do body work, so that's what my excuse with that.
You're like, write the check, and then I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. I pay you so I don't have to do this shit. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a pre-workout connoisseur. I like to feel like my eyes are vibrating a little bit from stimulants when I train.
Yeah, I always joke that I feel like I'd be a terrible drug addict, because like I always, like, whenever I take something that makes me feel cracked out, I love it.
That is, I was a terrible drug addict, and that is proof of that.
so now it's just less destructive.
Yeah, so you should know that about yourself. Don't do drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs, kids. That's the lesson here. What is your pre-workout of choice?
I think I've got like Rise's Godzilla thing, whatever they have. I'll buy whatever looks cool at Vitamin Shop as long as it's got like 300 megs of caffeine. I'm probably gonna take it.
I got it. You're like, let's try this. Okay, let's try this. Like until you're
Yeah.
just a pre-workout nomad
Yeah, I'm not persnickety with any of that. You'll
or
find that I'm
sponsored.
pretty I'm not a detail person, that's for sure. I'm trying to think like pre-workout regimen. No, we don't really have one. I mean, my husband and I always train together. We don't have an elaborate warm-up. He does kind of like lead the way on things. We don't do a lot of chitty chatty. I definitely don't want to be like, we train where we train clients. So we try to avoid being there whenever anybody's going to distract us. But no, there's not really an elaborate setup by any means.
So you train together. Are you both like headphones in, everything just done with eye contact, or are you like talking to each other a little bit here and there?
We talk a little bit, but we don't do headphones whenever we're together.
Okay. I see that sometimes, and I'll see people who are like, training with a partner and they both have headphones in and they're still talking to each other. I'm like, are you even listening to anything? Like,
yeah,
why are you
I don't know
those?
how they do that. Well, that, and
Okay.
the whole purpose of like having a training partner is like, I want him to yell at me a little bit. I want to yell at him. Like if I'm fucking something up, I want him to correct it, vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do like high volume, low volume, in between? Depends on the body part.
I think we're a good mix. As we've gotten older, we've definitely, kind of, we used to go in and like, hey, let's just go max out a bench press every week. We've kind of steered clear of that, kind of learned that that's stupid. But we do a good mix of, some lower volume things. I would say, there's probably one really low volume movement, and then the rest of it is on the higher volume end.
Okay. And do you always like are you more about like going as heavy as you possibly can, or are you more cognizant of form and then going as heavy as you can within that good form?
We are definitely go as heavy as you can within good form. I mean, form is never sacrificed for sure.
Gotcha.
I think
it's also very subjective.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's a fine line with that, because like I do think it just depends on your connection. Like Ryan can get away. Ryan has that's my husband's name, by the way. Ryan has a great back. He's always had a great connection with his back. So like I can watch him, probably not what someone else would call get herky jerky with some rows, and I can't get away with that because I'm literally just using my hips where he's still squeezing his back. But like, there are things that I could get away with that a little bit more that he can't. So it kind of just depends on what you connect with well,
Yeah. And some people are just like genetically gifted in certain areas. Like I always tell people like, I'm not the biggest guy in the gym, but I'll have some of the best forearms in the gym, and I've never trained them a single set in my entire life. It's
yeah,
just like,
I feel that.
It's like, I mean, of all the shitty body parts to be stuck with having something be your best feature, it's like, I'd rather have it be like shoulders or something like that, but just
forearms are cool. You could arm wrestle or like open jars, really cool.
I feel like if arm wrestling is just going to set me up for like a lifetime of spiral fractures or something like that.
Yeah, that freaks me out. I will never play that game with anybody.
No, I'm always worried about getting injured. I did have one question that came in through Instagram. It's always hit or miss if anybody actually has any questions. So
no one cares no one knows me.
well, and sometimes people come up with the weirdest things. So here's one that is not weird at all. Well, I mean it's weird, but I don't even care what your answer is. I'm going to ask you a different question. So he's like, height and weight. Why do people care about your height and weight?
I mean, I kind of get that, because sometimes I look at girls on the internet and they look super huge because, they're like, short-armed, short-legged people, and they look big, and you want to know, like, the real... I've seen girls that freak me out to like, stand next to them on stage, and I meet them in person, and I'm like, oh, you're 5 foot tall. So I kind of get that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like, I guess I could relate. Like, if I see a guy, I'm like, man, he looks pretty big. Oh, he's 160 pounds. Okay, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I get why people want to know. I do think... I don't know if the people that ask it are asking for that reason. Sometimes but if anybody wants to know, I'm 5'8", and on stage I'm normally like 175.
Okay. And this was kind of related to that. I was kind of curious, like where you are now versus the Olympia stage. Like how much have you put back on? Are you comfortable with how that time frame has gone so far?
So normally, just full disclosure. So normally I have in the past. I mean, this is kind of my first chance at a real off season as a female bodybuilder.
In like 2 years.
Well, yeah, and prior to that, I just was not acting like a professional athlete in the off season at all. So this is kind of my first shot at that. But my closest thing I had to that was that break between the Olympia and Van Isle this last year, and I immediately lost like 15 pounds. But I stayed really lean. But I was just trying to stay lean because in past years I would immediately get off stage and get really fat. So my goal,
overcorrected.
Yeah, I overcorrected. I lost a shitload of size, and then I just thought, oh, okay, this is what happens whenever I come off drugs. This year I have decided I'm going to act like a real adult and a professional athlete, and I also knew my body really needed rest, and I needed to prioritize that. So right now I'm sitting at like last time I got on the scale, I was like 188. I'm definitely. I'm as soft as I'm comfortable being, but I haven't really started what I would consider. I'm still kind of in like my health phase, if you want to call it that. Like I'm just focused
that's
on
the euphemism these days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Literally taking no drugs, have no interest on being on any drugs until at least January, if I even do that. I'm still kind of playing with whether or not I'm even going to take drugs in the off season. But as far as like level of softness, this is as comfortable as this is where it's going to stay.
Well, you're in a pretty good spot there because that's like less than 10% up from stage weight. Like that's a pretty healthy rebound. Like at that point,
No, it just sucks because I'm someone like as a woman, you want to hold it in like your ass and your legs, and I don't hold it there. Like I still have glute striations, but I have like I got a tire around my midsection. You know what I'm saying?
Well, join the club. Join the club. It's not an exclusive membership. I'm sorry to say, but I'm
no, because men are supposed to be that way, but women are not.
Yeah. Well, there's probably about 500 million women on the planet that would love to gain 13 pounds or whatever and still have striated glutes. So they would tell you that you can go fuck yourself, probably.
I guess if like I want to crop, I should. If I learned to Photoshop, I'd be killing it.
There you go. Well, maybe that's the next. Maybe that's the next step for this off season.
Okay, I like that. All right.
So, So, are you natty or not? Should we go there
right now?
I mean,
let's
talk about this dipshit, shall we?
Yeah, let's talk about
it. His name is Kenny something, right?
I think it's like Kenny Koo. Is that the name?
Kenny Ko, I think. So, like I've seen this guy because in YouTube for some reason keeps feeding me bodybuilder related stuff, even though everything that I watch on YouTube is not that. Like
you don't watch anything?
I watch like sci-fi TV and movie breakdowns and music related stuff. Like I don't watch bodybuilding stuff on YouTube, but for some reason they keep feeding me this stuff, and so I keep seeing it. And the very first time I saw this guy, I'm like, what an asshole.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely hate the concept of this because for those who don't know,
did you see a dude being interviewed or a woman first?
I don't even remember. Probably a woman. I mean, it was probably Teresa Ivancic because hers has been all over the place because of her response, which is like, what the fuck are you supposed to say? I mean, because it's a sensitive topic. For those who don't know, he asks people at shows or conventions or whatever if they're natty or not, and just has them on camera and sticks a mic in their face. And it's like, okay, you're asking something super personal. You don't know this person at all. They're somebody who is of prominence in the industry, so people might know who they are, but they're a stranger to you. You go in and ask them something personal that, you're basically saying like, hey, do you do illegal shit? Mm-hmm. And what is the correct response to that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't really have a question there other than like, can you believe this fucking guy?
Dude, I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna go on a tangent now.
Let's do it. Tangent City. Here we go.
I will say, originally I was seeing him interviewing men, and what I want people to understand is that I'm gonna preface all this with this because if there are men listening, then maybe they don't have this perception, and maybe some women don't either. Maybe this is something individual, parts of it are individual to me. But interviewing men, like, okay, like my husband and I, when my husband and I are out in public, like, you know, he might get gawked at, but for the most part, not that every man wants to be a 260, 70 pound bodybuilder. Like, I understand that at a certain point that loses its allure, maybe to men. I don't know. I think most men are still going to look at that and be like, that's pretty fucking cool. But either way, I think men look at big dudes and they think it's cool no matter what. And they don't get the comments that are like, you know, if they answer and they lie, I understand the comments, although there's more we could go into with that. Mm-hmm. But it's still like, you know, we're acknowledging the guy is muscular and he's achieved what he wants out of it, right? For women, like, we already are like, if you're passionate about bodybuilding as a woman, you only have so many options for categories. And for myself, being 5'8" and a larger framed woman, I couldn't do bikini if I wanted to. I'm straight up and down. I couldn't do figure if I wanted to, although those women are getting ripped to fucking shreds too. Mm-hmm. I couldn't do wellness if I wanted to. So, like, having a passion for bodybuilding, if I want to compete, female bodybuilding is where I have to be. So, like, in order, yes, I could compete natural, but, like, I'm just going to say it, like, it doesn't have the same level of, I'm trying to be light with my words here.
Well, let me just say it for you. Can you name any natural Olympia winners?
Thank you.
Nobody cares.
That's a great way to phrase that. Yeah. So if you want to be competitive as a woman in the division that your body fits, the sacrifice is your face a lot of the time. I mean, and that's what gets ripped to shreds on there. And we're already feeling, at least I'll speak for myself, I won't speak for all of us, but we're already feeling that. Like, we're aware of it. Every time I walk into a gas station, I'm aware of it, especially now that, like, you know, the gender thing is such an issue in the world right now. Like, people either call me sir, that used to happen a lot more often, or now, you know, I have people that, like, ask me what my preferred pronouns are, and that almost offends me more because I have fake eyelashes. I used to have, like, pink hair. I have boobs. Like, obviously I'm presenting myself as a woman. I'm a muscular woman. So we just already have this thing that we have to worry about and are self-conscious about. But, like, if you have a passion for bodybuilding, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like, we can do what we can to mitigate the virilization side effects. I don't even want to call them side effects. They are the effects. We're taking male hormones. We know that. You know, I get filler in my face. I get Botox in my jaw to try to chill out how aggressive that gets. But there are just things that you can't stop. And, like, I think if we look at Andrea is an exception because her face stays very feminine and beautiful, and there are exceptions. I'm just bringing her up because she is an Olympia winner. And
well, Andrea is an exception. She's an exception also because if you look at some of her earlier shows, she competed as a natural and she was still huge. So yeah, like, she is a genetic exception in almost every way.
Well, yeah, and, like, you know, my husband is yelling from the background. Like, if you watch her training videos, like, she gets away with, you know, using some very light weight. So it seems like she doesn't have to, I'm not saying she doesn't try hard. I respect her a lot as an athlete, but she clearly is very genetically gifted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there are just some of us that are going to have to make more sacrifices than others. And if you're going to a fucking bodybuilding show to interview people, then I would assume that you have respect for the sport. And so don't set women up to go, like, get their fucking souls ripped out of their chest. Because I'll say, I'm going to use this one as an example because I know her. Natalie Wolf that was one of the first ones I saw coming out of this Olympia. She got interviewed, and I think this was her first Olympia, and I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. So I know the excitement that comes with that, and she brought a great package. She was shredded.
Yeah.
And like they hit her with that fucking interview, and she's coming off this high of the weekend, and I can just imagine getting home on Monday or Tuesday, seeing that video go up and having to read through the comments. Like that just makes me want to cry for her. That's awful.
Yeah. Although if I remember correctly, I think she had the classic answer of
none of your business.
None of your business. And at that point, I don't know if she just walked away, but she should have. Like, that's the end of the conversation.
I talked to her about it privately because I wanted to bring her into the conversation on some of this stuff, but I didn't want to force her hand. And that motherfucker waited till her I don't want to say spouse because I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's her husband, waited for him to go to the bathroom to catch her alone. And, like, she got caught like a deer in headlights. Like she wasn't like, there's no, hey, I'm about to ask you this question. There's no ask of consent. I understand it's totally legal on his part, but like he knows putting that video up, what's going to come of it for that woman.
Yeah. And he just doesn't care.
Yeah. And
whatever I can do to get clicks.
Right. We can compare, like Teresa answered and said she's natural, which I'm sorry, but I don't believe it. And we could, like, I don't know if maybe she is natural. I don't know. But, like, I think that's the worst answer you can give because no one is going to believe it. So either none of your business or answer like Amanda, and I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, probably Lavina. You know what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about. I don't know what she said.
So basically, she doesn't speak English. So Amanda translated for her, and she explained the entire truth that, like, yes, we run gear. We have to at this level. We take time off to try to preserve femininity. And I think those two are, like, I think they're hot. I think those are some, like, if you want to use today's terminology, those are some muscle mommies, you know? Like, they're sexy, like, feminine-looking, muscular women. Like, Lavina, again, probably pronouncing her name wrong, has huge boobs. She's got, like, a pretty face. Amanda's beautiful, like, blonde. Again, big boobs. Like, if we're talking fitness industry, those are hot women. And they got ripped to shreds, too. And then people were even trying to say that Amanda was flirting with him by saying, like, no, I know who you are. I also live in Vegas. Like, it was just, okay. But the one that really pissed me off the most, that Bakar chick, is that how you say her name?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, she's not a competitor, right? She's just like more of an influencer type.
She's an influencer, and that is in my eyes, and I think most men's eyes, my husband will say so too, and I don't even care because, like, if I was a dude, I would also want to fuck that. She is the epitome of femininity. She is small up top, huge ass, huge legs, beautiful face. There's nothing that's been, like, you cannot see a drug that's been used on her face. She just clearly she has stronger features. She has a stronger jawline. And that girl got ripped to shreds too. Like, what the fuck?
I have a one word answer for you. Incels. That's who's commenting. I mean, that's the only thing, or just, keyboard warriors, trolls. This is one of the things that I think is, I have plenty of thoughts, and I could ramble on for hours about what social media has done to our society. But one thing that it will be equalized out eventually, but right now is running rampant, is just this newfound freedom that everybody has to say whatever the fuck they want without any repercussions at all. And it's a problem because, as you mentioned, like with Natalie, it's like there are real people that are being impacted by this. And if you're somebody, I was reading some stuff about you're a music fan, right? Like heavy music, if I remember correctly, metal-ish.
If it's like 90s, I'll know.
Tool.
Yeah.
So I was reading an interview with Maynard recently that he was on a podcast with somebody and talking about like how he never reads the comments, etc., because whenever anybody says anything, they're always like, you should make more music and stop making wine or whatever. It's like, fuck you people, whatever. But somebody at his level, it's like you're conditioned to kind of withdraw a little bit and just like whatever, I don't care what people say. When you're somebody like you or me, bodybuilders, we aren't selling out 30,000 seat arenas or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
We, even those who are successful are not celebrity on the same level. And so it's like, this is like not something that we have training in. This is not something that
Right.
you have experience in, is like dealing with people and dealing with haters, because as soon as you have to deal with people, you have to deal with a lot of haters. And I know women in this industry have to deal with it way more than men. Men really just kind of get fawned over more than anything else, usually by other dudes. But the women, it's like, I mean, it's the extremes on both ends. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I want to marry you, or holy shit, you're a man. And there's just no in between.
There's no in between. And unfortunately, like, the schmo thing is like, and even like, men don't I mean, yeah, I see some weird comments from men sometimes, but like, we have to deal with that, and like the fact that like we are sexualized, and unfortunately that's like perpetuated a lot by people in our industry. And I think honestly that comes from like all the negative comments, because then they have to seek validation to, kind of repair all the negativity that they've just gotten. So they need that sexual validation that like, oh, there are men that still find me sexy and feminine. So I think it just feeds into each other, because, I mean, I'm not going to hate on anybody's, like, I know women are making a lot of money doing the sexualization of muscles thing, whatever you want to call that, but like it kind of ruins it for those of us that truly just want to be athletes. And we don't have like, male athletes don't give a shit about us, and I don't really blame them, because I can't say it in a way that's gonna make me sound good.
I think you're saying it just fine. I'm with you. I'm following along. I gotcha.
It's a weird position for us to be in.
Well, I find that there's a tremendous double standard in the industry in a lot of ways, in bodybuilding specifically. Like, nobody's forcing guys to go out and spend $600 to $800 on a suit. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where that bullshit came from, but
we're right, and we have to like.
Guys don't have to do hair and makeup.
Yeah, they don't even have to smile on stage if they don't want to. We're expected to kind of be beauty pageant-esque, and I understand that, no one wants to watch a bunch of women that look like dudes hitting most musculars. I get that. I guess because of the societal roles, but like, some of us do, like, we just love bodybuilding, we love training, and we want to hit some fucking most musculars.
Yeah, because the thing is, for all the differences between men and women, there's a lot of things that are the same as well. And like, you're going to find humans who want to train and get big. A lot of them are going to be dudes. A lot of them these days are going to be women. And I think for all the things that like the introduction of the bikini category has done, as far as like ramping up the sexualization of the sport, which I'm not a huge fan of, it has done a lot to make it more accessible to more people, and it's getting more people into bodybuilding. So I'm kind of like, I really have a problem with it in one way, but in the same breath, it's like, yeah, but it's also doing some good things. It's also bringing a lot more money into the sport too. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
I don't see as many of them, but I think that feeds into what I said before. I was going to say, I don't see as many of them indulging in like OnlyFans and all that stuff, but I think it's because women and men alike are doting over them online, so they don't feel the need to.
Interesting.
And maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe that's just an assumption, but like, you can take a bikini athlete and make her marketable, because men are going to find it sexy. Women are going to want to look like it, but the farther up the chain you go, the further away from men finding it desirable you go, and thus it gets less attention, because really, it's just not getting the same level of respect as an athlete.
Yeah, and there's definitely a little bit of a narrowing of the focus as soon as you start going up and up in divisions in terms of muscularity. Like, the population is dwindling. You have like, 15 women competing in bodybuilding at the Olympia this year, which is quite a bit, versus like there were 40 in bikini or something like that.
Right.
So there's just fewer up there. The audience gets smaller, but I also find like the per person individual focus that everyone brings is much higher also, kind of because it has to be, because, you know, if you're competing in women's bodybuilding, that you have to do things on a level where, you know, it's difficult to compete in bikini at the Olympia and be competitive as well. Like, that takes a lot, but bodybuilding, men or women, like, it's another thing versus the other categories.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot to it. I think part of it also, like with the whole natty or not thing, do you think that a lot of people are looking for that stuff? And first of all, there's just like the curiosity factor, like the car accident that you can't look away from. And just, you know, for some people love like watching people just get embarrassed on camera. Personally, like I can't watch it. Like, that gives me anxiety to watch something like that. It makes me sweat, actually. I don't like it. But I think that some people are also like, I just want to know that they're on drugs, so the fact that I look like shit is okay because I'm not.
Yeah, no, there's definitely that. And I will say maybe if we're trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, it started with good intention so that people that were natural weren't like, you know, like Goob's intention with pointing out the photoshoppers, like making
Goob, John
sure
Dorsey.
that, for
those playing at home.
making sure you're not comparing yourself to someone who is doing things that you're not, so you're aware of the differences. Like, maybe that was innocent intentions, but now that he has seen what the comments bring, I don't know how he continues to allow it, and because he's making money off of it, right? I mean, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, one of Kenny's videos that I saw was who was it? Jessica Reyes Padilla, who she was what, second in figure or third at the Olympia? I'm not sure. And she was asked, natty or not, she's like, no one here is, and it was just like incredulous, like, you idiot, what do you think? And there is a certain level to it. Like, if you're just curious and knowing, now if you just want to confront somebody and create an awkward situation, that's one thing. That's what he's doing. If you just want to know, if you find yourself asking the question, you probably already know the answer.
Right.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of mystery usually. And also, just, you know, if you're competing in the NPC or in the IFBB, let's just assume, like, probably, right?
Absolutely. And I feel like it's 2024, like, I assume everyone should know that, but then I read comments on Facebook or Instagram that I'm like, okay, I shouldn't assume anyone knows anything.
No, you can't assume that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like my husband's pointing out, I mean, everyone after 40 is on hormone replacement therapy anymore. So, like, why are we assuming that, like, these Olympian athletes aren't at least doing that?
Right. And also, you get people who are on HRT or TRT, and they'll be like, well, I'm still natty because that's prescribed. So
yeah, and that's
they're really
stretching
the definition of it.
Right.
Does your husband have anything to contribute? Does he want to come on here? Does he have anything to contribute?
Do you want to come on? What? Do you want to come on?
Okay. Come say hi. We're hearing you in the background. We got to see a face. Hello, Ryan. Is it correct?
Hi there. It is.
How you doing, Ryan?
Darren. Nice to meet you, man. I'm good. I just
likewise.
done working. Do what?
I just it's good to have you on here. So we've been hearing the voice in the background. It's good to have a face associated with it.
Sorry, I can't keep my shit shut up most of the time.
Do you have anything you want to add to the Kenny Coup?
I mean, you guys really touched on most of it. I just find it very unfortunate for a lot of the female competitors that seem to, like, there's no answer that's going to be the right answer. You're going to get a troll whether you hide it, whether you say, okay, fuck off, or whether you say, you know, your exact fucking stack, you know, and, like, you know, Padilla, you know, you mentioned her. I watched that video. She was, you know, like you said, like, you fucking nuts, man. Like, we're at the fucking pinnacle here. Like,
yeah,
that's like asking the Patriots when they're at the Super Bowl if they're going to warm up before they go on the fucking field. Like, duh. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of like, you know, it's really at the mercy of whom people find to be fucking attractive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Padilla is shaped like a fucking hourglass. You know, I know she's over 40 and you would never fucking know it. Like,
yeah, because she'll win every
like,
Masters show she ever goes into.
Well, yeah, she's been top two for what, 3 freaking years in a row. Like,
yeah,
she's at, like, of the elite prime, and not a lot of people are going to find that body to be offensive. And, you know, and sometimes it's not even your body. It's like, you know, how lean and dug out people will get for the classes past that. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So, like,
and
when you
especially
go
if you're
ask-
asking a competitor who is, you know, you're at the Olympia and they've competed there, like you're catching them when their face is probably about as rough as it's ever going to get. So
yeah,
you put
you're
them on camera
dehydrated,
right
you're
then.
sunken in. Yeah, you've been up since 4 a.m. getting your fucking hair and makeup done. Like, you just had like every emotion on God's green fucking earth. Like,
Yeah.
you know
You
what
have
I mean? And
no
like, and
fat
I
in your
know,
face at all.
you know, when you know personally, and as I do too, like walking off prejudging stage, whether you fucking killed it or not, there's a big relief of emotions.
Yeah.
Like all this pent up shit that we've been dealing with for 12, 15, 20 fucking weeks. Okay, we can just go rest and look at some pictures and analyze data. Like it's there, it's done. I don't have to, you know, you're in such a good headspace, I feel like.
I think
Then
often,
this guy comes
yeah.
up and fucking like jaw jock someone with a question you're not gonna win. And like if you're in WPD and FBB, you're probably using some diuretics and you're probably pulling some fucking water. There's no way these women have, you know, hamstring cords showing and fucking, you know, side legs that are like peeled to the bone on the quads. There's just, you're not getting what the judges are asking for if you're not gonna have a little sacrifice. And to like go try to like knock down on some of these people, like fucking go look at Natalie Ray Wolf in the off season. She looks completely different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
And
like
most
probably
people
wouldn't
do.
get shit on for it. But
Right.
like at her Super Bowl, you're gonna fucking clean someone's clock, like, and that's just emotional. It's just for your own fucking gain. You know what I mean? Like, and like, I get it. Attention is everything nowadays. I do. It's just
Everything for the clicks, man.
you know, like if this was like a MLB or NFL or NBA, people it doesn't like are gonna treat that differently. Like they look at that as like holy shit, like this is someone to be revered and this is someone to like be admirable of. And like I feel like even if you're like fucking Samson, even if you're the top fucking dog, you walk around to an expo, like an influencer's gonna have just as much line as like that. And it's like where did we go in this sport where it's like fun to pick on the elite who have like given up the most to make the sport popular to where it is for influencers to want to fucking be in? There's like no respect for the ones that paved the fucking way. You know what I mean?
It's a great point because, like you said, like I mean, there's probably a reason why, you know, NBA players and NFL players don't go, you know, I mean, they've got like, you know, before the Super Bowl, they've got like their media day where they sit in front of microphones at tables, but they have to answer some questions. But like they don't make themselves available most of the time
to everyone,
to everybody, right? And like,
outside of the open men, everyone, even fucking C-Bum, has to walk through the expo after prejudging.
Yeah. Yeah, and
You know
so
what I mean?
that's the
It's
problem
like-
because like if I was there like with a microphone and doing my thing, I would be asking about people's experiences, like how are you feeling? You know, how's your prep been? You know, let's talk about like what are your, you know, what's your year been like? What
are you going to eat tonight when it's all over?
Exactly.
Well,
you know any
like,
good restaurants, but like to be in a position where you're the guy who's then just going to kind of come and ask the gotcha questions. It's like there's always got to be somebody who fills that role, but it's up to people like you and me and Julia to call them out on their bullshit and say, fucking find a better gig.
Right. I mean, and like, you know, if that wants to be your game, cool, but like, why, like, shame on like everyone that promotes that whole train of thought. Like, you're, you know, you're just kind of shitting on an industry in a sense.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
like, that sucks. Like, I like to find myself as a bodybuilding purist, a savant. Like, I'm not going to have the genetics to be Mr. Olympia, but like, I will have, you know, every fucking bodybuilding memory you can have going back years past. I've stored it. I've got it. I'm a student. Like I want to be a great coach. Like, you know, we can't all be Michael and Kobe. You know what I'm saying?
Some of us have to be the sixth man.
Well, we all, and I'm not even trying to like, you know, say like, you know, I haven't had the attitude where like I am going to be Michael and Kobe. I have. It's just in bodybuilding without the correct genetics or frame or structure, you're not going certain places, right?
Yeah.
So like I want to fulfill like whatever I can as an athlete by being a good coach. And you know, when you're trying to like I don't know, have like a certain like attain of respect and admiration for the ones that came before you and do it correctly and want to be the next person that hands off that torch in a sense, whether it be as a coach or an athlete or, just someone shaking hands at the fucking expo. Like, it would just be cool if there wasn't like people trying to knock it down, because it's not like it's a great mainstream sport as it is.
Yeah,
like,
and I guess that's probably where a lot of that comes from, is just because it's not mainstream, and so therefore I think everybody's more comfortable shitting on it. Like, nobody really shits on the NFL. Well, I mean, I guess with the concussion stuff, some people do, but
of course you have the
not on the same level.
But like, it's like with NFL fans, there's gonna be a unity. Like, hey, I don't care if you like the fucking Eagles and you like the Cowboys. At the end of the day, we love football.
Yeah.
And like, we're gonna stand for football, and we're gonna make football good by the way that we support it. And I would just like to think that like we could get that way more so with bodybuilding, and like, it's just, there's tons of different physiques. None of them are wrong. And like, no, if a woman wants to like go through a whatever type of prep to get her to fulfill goals, let's say be Miss fucking Olympia, there's gonna be times, I promise you, it wasn't at the Olympia where like that shit looks way worse.
Sorry, I'm plugging my phone in. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to not be interrupting. Hold on. You guys just keep going.
Okay, wow. My bad. Or her bad. But, interrupt the train of thought. But you get what I'm saying there, like...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're in the media realm.
Kind of. I mean, I'm a coach full time, but I just do this podcast as a side thing. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a side thing. I've been doing it for 8 years, and I have 280 episodes, but it's a side thing.
So, like, then what's your personal opinion on, like, I don't know, I guess, the friction posts or things that are going to cause, strife? Let's go that route.
It's so, being that, I'm in a position here where I'm also like trying to grow a YouTube channel. And so I see somebody like Kenny Coe and what he's doing. I'm like, oh, that's one way to be successful. But it's all about like, how can you feed the algorithm? And you can feed it with controversy and clickbait, or you can feed it with value. And the sad thing is, feeding it with value does not work as well. It works, but not as well.
Yeah.
And so, like, the videos that I put out, like interviews like this, or like, hey, here's some meal prep stuff.
Right.
I've had a video that got like 0 traction, which is like, here's every chest exercise I can think of. I'm going to rank them on a tier list. Here we go. Here are the ones that I think are the best. These are the ones that suck ass, and why. Yeah. And just trying to bring value to people, stuff that they can watch while they're like, grinding away at cardio. They're doing their own meal prep to kind of learn something about it, and just avoid the gossip of like Kenny Coe, or like, God, who's the super loud guy? Greg Doucette, who I know is a good dude, but he's so annoying, and he's just all about gossip and controversy all the time. But I know he's a good dude under there. But he is like, adopts this persona for clicks. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Well, like, it just comes off so disingenuous, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I understand everything you're saying, and from like a business perspective and wanting, I wouldn't tell you not to, I guess. But like, also like, why not like buck the system and be the one that wants to be more value and like hold yourself to like a higher standard, as opposed to like the whole like, let's sell out and just do what it takes to get clicks. Because like you said, I know Greg Doucette is a nice guy, and I've never met Greg Doucette, and I know that he's a knowledgeable person with bodybuilding based on things he said, people that have trusted him with prep, etc., 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 lots of things. But the only thing I can hear is his loud voice bitching about someone, right?
Which isn't even his real voice. It's put on. Like,
dude,
if you listen to him, if you catch him in a real moment, like there was something where, like, I think last year he did like this behind the scenes thing at the Olympia where he was like just talking to camera and being his normal self. I'm like, where's that guy? I could listen to that guy. I can't listen to his normal stuff.
Just ignore me for 5 seconds. Very sorry. Had to get the right plug-in.
This is hilarious.
I'm sorry. It was dying. I suck. I'm sorry.
You're
What else
forgiven.
do you want me to do? Okay.
She's
We're
back.
making this easier. We're talking to me again now.
All right. Just taking
My
over.
plug-in doesn't read.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, I mean, so I don't know. Is there anything else like when we started this? I don't know if there was anything that you wanted to cover that we haven't covered yet, or if you feel like you got it out, or like I don't know if you want to talk about like what's your favorite type of cookie or what.
Oh God. I don't know. Is there anything else that we've been on a tangent with this whole? I guess to wrap that piece up, like, do you think it's too big of an ask to try to talk to Jake Wood and see if he would like not allow him to those events? Because I've consulted with my clients that are attorneys, and they all say it's a public space, he can do whatever he wants. And obviously there was someone else that actually I talked to about doing a podcast about this, and I didn't really like his response when I brought it up, because he just said there's no safe space for you guys. You can't expect to have a safe space. And while I do understand that, I think that that's true if he were doing those interviews at a fucking Walmart or a Target, but I think an expected safe space should be the Olympia or the Arnold,
And it's not even really about a safe space.
I'm going to
It's about
jump in on that.
Yeah, go for it.
So, like, Jake Wood has been super fucking nice to Julia and I. He has been, I mean, we had the year where she thought she kind of got snubbed on the old Arizona. He's gone out of his fucking way multiple times to make sure that we knew that wasn't supposed to happen. It said without being said. That being said, he is, I believe, in a relationship with someone that was top 5 in the world in FBB. And I have a feeling if she was ever cornered like that and got raked through the coals on social media, he would probably feel a certain way. And so that was like the main reason where we were kind of going with asking or thinking like what he would think towards that at the expo, because now you're taking personal shots at like the whole division that he resurrected. Right.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, let's be clear. He has a significant stake in that, even if it wasn't in a relationship with somebody in it, because he was the one who brought it back.
Absolutely, he resurrected it. He brought it to life, and he fucking gives and gives and gives when it comes to the Rising Phoenix. And then, like, how could you deny he gives when you saw the check this year at the Olympia?
Mm-hmm.
He went and told Arnold, "Hey, shove it. I've also got pockets." And like, that's fucking baller. I mean, that's baller. So like. I'm not saying, hope none of it is taking this as like a negative towards him. It was like more like, hey, we would like to know what would you feel if someone close to you, which I know pretty much every competitor in WBB is close to him. How do you feel knowing that these women are getting fucking jacked in the jaw coming off their high?
Yeah, because he might not even be aware of it,
Right. I feel like, I mean, he's plugged in enough. He probably is, but I think the other thing is, is this guy getting back there? Like, does he have press credentials, for example? And what's the process to get those? Do you have to go through some kind of a vetting process? Because if they're allowing press credentials to people who just come and, sting everybody with gotcha questions, like, hey, we could revoke that would seem reasonable, and it's going to make the process and the whole environment better for everybody except for him. And fuck him, he'll be fine. He can find his own way.
Yeah. And I know people have, I talked to someone who, I won't throw names out in case they don't want them mentioned, but I talked to someone who got caught by Kenny at a gym, and their gym owner booted him and told him he wasn't allowed. So people are booting him out of places. And I think Jake would do the same if brought to his attention. Is that a reasonable ask if I were to try to get a hold of him and ask? Is that reasonable?
Well, I think in your position, it's 100% reasonable, because you're just asking the question, and then he's the one that then has to figure out, like, hey, can I do this or what? But I think what that does is it makes sure that he's aware of the issue, and it makes sure he's aware of your investment in the issue as well. So I think that's totally fair and legit. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Do it.
I'll do it. I
want to see some shit go down.
Okay. I hope we can do it, because it's just, we have too much that we have to deal with already. That just shouldn't be added to.
That's a great point. I 100% Fully agree with that. Absolutely. Well, damn, Julia, you and Ryan have both been awesome. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. So, how can people find you both online?
So Instagram, he is Witness Results Ryan, and I am IFBB Pro _Mules, MULES.
Okay, where does the mules come from?
I was just gonna say maybe I should add. It's stupid. So
it's always stupid. That's okay.
I know it's always stupid. My maiden name, I go by both Julie and Julia. My maiden name was Martin, so like Jules, Martin, Mules.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
cool.
not a cool nickname.
It's okay. It's okay. It's cool enough. It counts. It counts.
Yeah, it counts. I like
Awesome.
for things to be inside jokes to me only, and I like to leave people wondering.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll stick around for a second here. I'm going to say bye-bye to the audience. This has been episode 275. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Ryan. So peace out to the audience.